What if the legends of Bigfoot are more than just a campfire story? If Bigfoot is just a made-up story, then how is there so many similar descriptions across not just the Earth, but across time itself? A huge, hairy bipedal that is intelligent as well as extremely elusive. And if all these stories are fake, and just proven to be hoaxes, then how are there so many surviving stories to this day? Most people will put Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, all of them into one of three categories. That's misidentification, a hoax, or just folklore. Misidentification, such as bears or shadows playing tricks on your mind, or just pure adrenaline. Hoaxes where people create fake tracks, costumes, or do it all just for attention and views. And then we just have folklore, where stories like this can thrive just because they're fun and entertaining. But here's the thing that bugs me. There are so many people in so many places that have all described the exact same type of thing. Now sure, the names may change. It could be Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, skunk ape. There's an unlimited amount of names for these things. But the profile is always strangely consistent. So let's build this case from the ground up. First of all, Bigfoot is not a new internet phenomena. There are indigenous traditions in the Pacific Northwest about individuals that were just hairy men that go way back before the modern day Bigfoot name. When people say Sasquatch, they're usually pointing to a word that is traced back to Coast Salish language roots, meaning something like wild man or hairy men, and it showed up in the early 20th century retellings and republishings. That matters because it shows the concept wasn't invented by a single 1950s hoaxer, even if some modern evidence was, however, faked. The names that we use today have a timeline that we can trace back to their origins. Sasquatch first shows up in McLean's magazine sometime in 1929, and Bigfoot becomes a headline term later when famous footprints are found in California. The word Bigfoot exploded in popularity after the Northern Californian footprint stories hit the news in the later half of 1958. And here's where it gets messy. There are claims that at least some of those footprints were faked using carved wooden feet, which gives the skeptics a rather strong argument that the Bigfoot era starts with nothing more than just a prank. But even if some of these early prints were hoaxed, that doesn't automatically explain every report before or after. That's like saying if one politician is lying, then they must all be lying. Okay, actually I know how that one sounds, but you get my point. The modern Bigfoot era has a few anchor moments that it always circles back to, whether that is the footprint cast, the famous film footage, or just the sightings that we still see to this day, especially in rural areas, and the knocking. But what about the screamings that was recorded in the 1970s by Ron Moorhead and Al Berry in the Sierra Sounds?
Sometimes you might hear a grunt or a whoop or a big blowing sound or something like that, and that's when you know you want to get inside the shelter because you still don't know what you're dealing with. Whatever it is big, very, very big. Then they would start making their sounds. And that was in '71 when I first started hearing them.
There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks.
The 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film is the most famous single piece of Bigfoot evidence because you have a visual to inspect. The way it walks, the body proportions, whether it's in a suit, all of it. Some people see it as the best capture ever. Others see it as the most successful costume hoax in cryptid history. Either way, it has become a part of culture that is keeping this topic alive. Now, some Latter-day Saint folklore connects a lost and wandering cursed Cain to a hairy man. and in some retellings, that gets fused with Bigfoot. Now, whether or not you do believe this, it actually does matter, because here we are getting a creature that is supposed to be only in mythology, but it is becoming attached to faith and becoming a part of a community, even to this day. Now, to keep this clean, this isn't official LDS doctrine, it's folklore. The root story shows up in later biographies and retellings about an early church leader who reportedly met a wild man in the forest of Tennessee claiming to be Cain. The explicit Bigfoot is Cain label is a later mashup that spreads in certain communities because it fits the cursed wanderer interpretation of Cain. So when people say Mormons believe that Bigfoot is Cain, a more accurate line is some Latter-day Saint folklore and local traditions have carried that connection, not the church as an official teaching. However, Cain is one of the few individuals in Scripture where we don't know what happened to them, when they died, or even if they ever did. So how does something like this stay hidden for so long? And then when you look at how much land we actually have, there's 111 million acres of national wilderness preservation. 111 million acres. Most of that we are not allowed to enter into. Then there's a portion that is just too difficult for us to even get into. So the question is, why are we not allowed to go in there? Is it literally just to keep the environment safe and clean and untouched from mankind? Or is there something more? Especially at night. Especially when people aren't around. Especially when you get far, far away from the roads. Here is the core logic that I'm working with. If the stories of Bigfoot are all just pure fiction, then you would expect to see that in the stories. They wouldn't be cohesive, they wouldn't match up, they would be all over the place, extremely random. But they're not. If Bigfoot is a pure hoax, then you would expect under scrutiny that the whole entire idea would just fall apart and crumble. Similar to like the idea of a vampire. Most people automatically believe that these are not real because there's no substantial evidence for it. That doesn't seem to be the case here. Why do so many people still believe? Now, this does not mean that Bigfoot is out there breeding and there is a population of unknown type of ape that we just have not discovered yet. But it does make you question things, and it does make you see that there is a pattern in some type of strange phenomena that is happening that is still keeping this topic alive today. So I think the honest answer here is that it's not just one simple thing. I think it's a blend of things. It is misidentification. People are going to see things out in the woods, and automatically they are going to let their mind play tricks. And then there will be some hoaxes that have and will continue to take place. And then there's the things in the woods that we just can't easily explain. Just to put numbers on it, the U.S. has over 100 million acres in the National Wilderness Preservation System, land that is intentionally kept wild and rugged. It means huge areas are lightly traveled, seasonal, and hard to search systematically. Still, it also raises the counterpoint. People hike, hunt, and place trail cams in these areas all year round. So if something huge is out there, the evidence question stays a fair one. So here's my refined theory. Bigfoot is not a name, it's a category. A wild man type being that shows up in human history and folklore. And today we just have a new label for him. We just call him Bigfoot. Now, looking at it through a biblical lens, I don't think it's too crazy to ask, is this something that is connected to ancient times? Could this be some type of remnant, an outcast? Or maybe just a judgment that people always misunderstood. We hear stories from all cultures, from all times, of half man and half something else. So could the idea of Bigfoot just be something that's left over from an experiment a long, long time ago? If Bigfoot is more than folklore, we should eventually see at least one of these happen. We'll need better physical evidence that holds up, consistent track patterns, hair with clean chain of custody, usable DNA that doesn't magically turn into contamination, more consistency in behavioral reports, migration patterns, seasonal clustering, hotspots that repeat for reasons that are just beyond tourism, a clear explanation for intelligence, avoidance of cameras, avoidance of roads, understanding of distance and concealment. And if Bigfoot is not real, then the predictions are a little bit different. We should see hoaxes become even better, stories to keep spreading through social reinforcement, and the legend stays alive even with no proof, because people want it to be true. Now, it is true that scientists discover thousands of new species every single year, but the overwhelming majority are insects, invertebrates, plants, and fungi. So to say that we're still discovering species is real, but we're still discovering unknown 7-foot mammals in North America is a much higher bar. That doesn't kill the Bigfoot idea. It just raises the standards for what evidence should look like. Now, to be fair to the skeptics, there are a few problems with the idea of Bigfoot. There is no verified body, no confirmed bones, no universally accepted specimen. Now, hoaxes are real, and there is evidence that definitely needs to be challenged. Now, I would say the biggest potential issue is the fact of how many trail cams are set up in the United States, all over the place, all year round. They're constant. So you would think that something of this magnitude is traveling through the woods, alone or in a pack. You would think there would be evidence for it, at least something recorded. But no. Most of the evidence that we get seems to be recorded on a 1990s, Nokia phone. It's shaky, it's very pixelated, it's just not good quality. So I am not here to tell you that I can prove that Bigfoot is real. I'm not here for that. But I am here to tell you that there are patterns. There are patterns in the description, the time, locations, all of these things. You have to see the pattern. And once you see that, it becomes a little bit more easy to understand that maybe some of these things are possible. So I think the real question is, what type of evidence would you personally have to receive in order for this to go from folklore to reality? What would you actually have to see? Is it a physical body, hair samples? What would make you go, maybe there is something more to this? Especially nowadays with the advancement of AI, like I said in the last video. It is being used to fake so many things. And a few months ago, there was a huge amount of videos that came out that were AI involving Bigfoot. Now, what if at the same time there was something else going on where there was actually Bigfoot sightings that were being posted, but then immediately covered up using AI? Just think on it. How much would it take?